Well, then we're going to come back and we're going to remove the excess penetrant. That's what we're going to do next. So after we've hit our dwell time on our stopwatch, the penetrant's going to be removed from the part surface. You want to make sure that you don't get too overzealous with your cleaning. You just want to remove that excess penetrant. You don't want to scrub out what's inside the cracks or the discontinuities. So you got to be careful here. And then we're going to apply the developer, another spray can. This is basically chalk in a can, right? It's going to spray on there white, kind of like the lines on a football field or a soccer field. It's just chalk in a can. The developer is going to aid in drawing any trapped penetrant from the discontinuities. It's going to pull it out. And it's also going to give us a good contrast, because maybe if your dye is red and this chalk is white, we'll be able to see the discontinuities because there's that contrast between the two colors we're using. Then once we've done that, our next step is going to be visual examination. So then we're going to get it under the right lighting of conditions, and then we're going to make sure that we identify any relevant indications. And that's pretty much what we got to do. And we're just going to do that. And then when we're all done and we've dispositioned it, we're going to clean the part afterwards. We're going to post-clean the part, which is really important. We don't want to leave any residues or any crud on the part that's going to maybe have some kind of long-term corrosive effect on our parts. This is super important because these residues can have adverse effects on whatever we're going to do to it next, or maybe the end service that we're going to use this part for. So that's something that we need to be cognizant of. Once again, post-cleaning of the part. Residual inspection materials might combine with other materials in service to produce corrosion products. So maybe you could have a situation where you leave that residue on there, and then there's other materials that are going to be put on after your part's been inspection, and then it could lead to corrosion type situations. And we really want to avoid those types of situations. So once again, post-cleaning of the part is super important. A lot of times, simple water rinsing, machine water, vapor degreasing, solvent soaking, or ultrasonic cleaning, depending on what you've got going on. But these can all be employed depending on what type of method you're using for dye penetrant testing.
Here's an LP inspection station. This would be, you'd set something like this up if you were going to be doing a lot of parts over and over and over, some kind of production situation. I worked in a foundry where they had something similar to this. It was much larger, but they had black lights and draining station, and for doing parts the size of a Volkswagen. They didn't break out 512 cans of dye penetrant and spray it on the part and then hit it with the developer. They had stations set up. And this is one of many possible configurations for LP inspection stations. Cabinet situation like this where you've got some sinks, some cabinets, and then you've got the black light inspection station like a booth where you can close it off and it's absolutely dark in there and you can hit the part with a black light. Penetrant inspectors should be qualified and certified in accordance with SNT TC1A or a similar document. To provide permanent records, photographs of the specimen should be taken prior to post-cleaning. Post-cleaning is only required for those specimens that are found free of defects. Defects are described by engineering documents or in contract codes and specifications. Post-inspection cleaning is necessary since the penetrant and developer residue tend to attract moisture, which can cause corrosion or can interfere with subsequent processing or usage. The cleaning methods for post-inspection cleaning are generally the same as those recommended for the pre-cleaning process. So this is just telling us, hey, the penetrant inspectors, they need to be qualified. You need to have paperwork on them. SNT TC1A is a great document to provide guidance in how to qualify non-destructive testing personnel. Then you want to make sure and provide permanent records that you did an inspection. And in this day and age, it's photographs generally from a cell phone or a small digital camera. Stash those on a hard drive of a computer or a server somewhere. And then you clean the thing. You disposition the part, and then, like I said, you did the post-inspection cleaning. Then you're on about your business to the next part.
So the advantage of liquid penetrant testing is it's usually very cheap and often is the cheapest method other than visual testing. It's usually quick, even for large parts. You can get it done pretty quickly. Can be portable. We can get a stack of basically spray paint cans and go to the site, do what we need to do. Reasonably easy to interpret. You don't have to be a non-destructive testing guru to interpret the results. Yep, that's a crack, that's porosity. With a little bit of time, you can end up with pretty reasonable skill set for interpretation of results. So the disadvantages of liquid penetrant, we're only going to be able to defects that are open to the surface, flaws, defects, and whatnot open to the surface. Anything subsurface, we're not going to get to. We're going to have to use X-ray or ultrasound to get to those. There's no automatic or permanent records. Granted, nowadays we have cell phones and we can just take a picture and include those photographs that we've taken into a non-destructive testing report. The technology's come a long ways to allow us to do this. It's not like X-ray where we're going to have a hard copy of the X-ray that was shot. We're going to have to take some pictures, but in this day and age, it's much easier than it was 30 years ago. We'd have had to use a Polaroid or something. Often requires a pre-cleaning step. A lot of times you're going to have to clean it before you do the inspection, so that could be a hindrance to some. So if we really want to get the maximum out of this, a lot of times they use fluorescence, use fluorescent lights, and have a special type of penetrant testing dye to get or to penetrate in there that is going to fluoresce when fluorescent light is put on it. And it's not good for rough or porous surfaces. If it's a porous surface with a lot of holes in it, it's not going to work very well. Some of these penetrants can attack, rubbers, plastics, and they should have a low sulfur or low chlorine content when we're using them with stainless steels, nickels, and titanium materials.